Hello, everyone. This is David, the most villainous movie critic. I have my black jacket, my scarf, and my banana for sustenance. Let's talk Minions Rise of Gru. Hello, everyone. This is David Stark from Watch or Pass, and I'm ready to talk Minions. That's a really bad Gru accent, so I'm going to drop it for now, but I tried. So I'm going to talk to you about Minions Rise of Gru, which is coming to theaters on July 1st, 2022. It is a prequel to the Despicable Me series that looks at how Gru got his start in villainy, or at least got his first notoriety in villainy. Now, it comes to theaters on July 1st, 2022, and my hot take is I think you should rent it. Look, it has some beautiful animation and some fun moments, and it's got the minions, but the story is just really kind of random and disjointed and doesn't really make much sense. If you're hoping for a coherent story, this one is not for you. So my ultimate recommendation is to maybe rent it. Now, also for the kids, if you're wondering, is this okay for me to watch? Or parents, if you're wondering if this is okay for your kids to watch, look, it's fine. There is some crude humor because it's Minions. Of course, there's some crude humor and there's some violence and some fighting, but none of it is that bad. I mean, I took my kids to it. They were fine. They were laughing the whole time. There wasn't really anything that was too scary for them. And so it should be fine for pretty much any kid. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the movie, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and go into the ending. So as you can imagine, in the ending section, there will be spoilers. So if you don't want to know what happens in this film, look, it doesn't really matter if you find out what happens in this film. It is a very random story, but maybe you don't want to know, then turn it off at the ending section. I'll give you a warning when I'm getting to the ending, so you can watch until then, and then when I talk about spoilers, you can turn it off right then. So in Minions, The Rise of Gru, you have Gru's origin story. It's the 1970s. Gru is an 11-year-old kid. He has big dreams of being a supervillain, and he has some idols in this villain group called the Vicious Six, and his dream is to join them, and he finally gets his chance, but it doesn't really go according to plan, and that leads to a whole host of consequences involving Gru, the minions, and some of the villains from the Vicious Six. So things I liked about this movie. The first, hey, look, the animation. The animation is beautiful. It is an Illumination film. They do a great job with all of their animation. This is no exception. It's got that kind of exaggerated, silly, Despicable Me style for the characters, but a ton of bright colors, a ton of really great details, and it is just beautiful. So overall, this is just a visual treat. The second thing I really loved is the style. This movie is set in the 70s, and so you've got kind of that 70s bright color palette. You have some 70s touches, like some shiny cars. You've got some really interesting out there fashion. You've got kind of like a 70s funk vibe to a lot of it. And it really works with the Despicable Me style. Like, everyone is exaggerated and kind of over the top, but it fits perfectly with this series. So it looks really, really nice together. Both the beautiful animation and the 70s style. The third thing I liked is, some of the humor. It's a Minions movie. There are funny moments. There are definitely some laugh out loud moments, but honestly, not as many as I thought, which is something I'll get to in the things I didn't love. And the last thing I really liked is the music. It has this the film has a nice 70s soundtrack for a lot of it, and it really does help to kind of fit the mood, and they're good songs. It's fun to listen to them as well. So things I didn't love as much about this movie, the first is, I'll go with the humor. It's not as funny as I thought it would be. Look, I love the Despicable Me series. I love Gru. I love the Minions. I thought I would be laughing out loud in this film, and I don't know, it just didn't hit for me like the previous films did. I don't know if maybe the humor has gotten old for me, or maybe this wasn't up to the level of the original films and even the first Minions, but I just didn't really love this movie's humor. There were, like I said, there were some laugh out loud moments, but I was expecting to laugh a lot more. Now, my kids liked it a lot. They were laughing a lot. So maybe it's just not for me, but for me, I didn't enjoy it as much as I kind of expected to. The second thing I didn't really love is it's just really random. Like, the story just feels very out there. It feels like kind of, I don't know, like they just took all these random ideas and mashed them together into this story that has some relation to Despicable Me and Gru. And so as I was watching, I was expecting for like a more coherent storyline, and it didn't hit that. It was just like there were just a lot of very random occurrences that happened that I guess it's fine in a kids movie because it provides some fun moments, but for me it felt just too disjointed. The third thing I didn't really love is, I'll go with kind of convenient story twist. This is kind of related to it being very random, but there were just some instances where, like, all of a sudden they would need to do something and bam, there it was. Or all of a sudden they would need some help. And here's this random person that you've never met that is now going to help them. And it just felt a little bit too convenient. It kind of ties in with everything being random. It was just like, hey, there's this big crisis. Oh, here's this convenient, strange new person that is introduced that is going to fix everything and like help them out. And you don't know why, but hey, they're here. So overall, the story just didn't gel with me. And part of it was the fact that they had these like very convenient story twists that would happen, just kind of move it along, but didn't really make much sense. And the last thing I didn't really love is, I felt like there were some continuity issues here. Like you have some of the minions who learn some new things or have some very interesting experiences in this film, and it never gets brought up later. And I'll go into it more in the ending, but you would expect some of these things that happen to come up later in the film. And I know that they're trying to shoehorn a prequel into another series, but to me it felt weird to have like these big moments happen that are never referenced later in the movies. Maybe they are, maybe I just missed them, but I don't think they are, because there were some very, very random things. So going into the ending, and like I said, this is where there will be spoilers. If you don't want to know what happens in this film, turn it off now, because I will tell you what happens in this film. And look, like I said, it probably doesn't really matter because the story is very random, but hey, maybe you want the surprise. Maybe you like the randomness and you don't want to know what happens. Then I would turn this off now. So the main story of Minions, The Rise of Gru is the Vicious Six are trying to get this amulet called the Zodiac Stone. It's this amulet that has 12 stones coinciding with the 12 signs of the Zodiac. And I guess if they get this, they will become super powerful. So the Vicious Six they're all like really fun, strange caricatures. You've got Bell Bottom, Stronghold, Nunchuck, Vengeance, Jean-Claude, and Wild Knuckles. Wild Knuckles is the originator of the group. He's the oldest. He's also Gru's favorite villain. So he's the one that goes and gets the amulet, beats all the traps, gets it out of there. And then when he's getting rescued by the Vicious Six, they double cross him and say, now we have the amulet, we don't need you. And they double cross him. It's either the Vicious Five. So Gru had been trying to get in the Vicious Six, and he finally gets his opportunity. They say, hey, we have an opening. Him not knowing that Wild Knuckles is no longer there, he goes to interview for that. They take one look at him and they're like, you're an 11-year-old kid. What are you doing? Come back when you've actually done something. Gru gets upset with this. And while they're distracted, he steals the Zodiac Stone and runs away. Now, as you can imagine, they are not very happy about this, so they start to track him down. But Gru escapes them somehow, but is eventually captured by Wild Knuckles, who also sees this kid with the Zodiac Stone. So Wild Knuckles kidnaps him and takes him to his secret, well, not actually that secret. It's a lair on kind of like the top of, I don't know, probably Nob Hill in San Francisco. It's the top of this hill. It's this huge house, but that's where he takes Gru, and he tells the minions, hey, look, get me the Zodiac Stone, or else you'll never see your boss again. And so the minions go and try to help. Eventually, the minions track down the stone. But two things about this. First, while some of the minions are there to try to break into Wild Knuckles' lair to free him, they get into a fight with Wild Knuckles' henchmen. And they have this fight. And eventually, this random masseuse who is outside while they are fighting leaves and goes and beats them up because he's also apparently a kung fu master. Now, this person is played by Michelle Yeoh. I love Michelle Yeoh. She does a great job. It was just very random. It was just like, they're in a fight. Oh, look, here's this masseuse who's also a kung fu master who can beat up these characters. Oh, and now she's teaching these minions kung fu for some reason because they asked her to. And so she's like, I'm not teaching. Oh, but you're so cute. So now I'm going to teach you. And so apparently now Kevin, Stewart, and Bob all know kung fu. It was never mentioned later, so you would think that would be, again, a useful skill for Gru to use later. Like, hey, Kevin, Bob, Stewart, you are kung fu masters. Why don't you help me in this plot? Again, that was both kind of the randomness and like some of the weird continuity issues that this prequel introduces. That was the first thing. Second thing, one of the other minions, Otto, who had the Zodiac Stone but traded it to someone for a pet rock in this silly trade, eventually finds the Zodiac Stone again because the person that he traded with gave it to his uncle who was going to San Francisco. And so Otto followed him and eventually made friends with the uncle, and they had a fun time on their on their motorcycle ride to San Francisco. And he eventually got the stone back. Again, very, very random and convenient plot twist that kind of had everyone end up in San Francisco where they needed to be. Also, after Wild Knuckles' henchmen were beaten up by Michelle Yeoh, the Kung Fu master, they all quit. So Wild Knuckles is now without henchmen. So he has no henchmen, but he has a Gru. And so he decides to use Gru for an upcoming heist. It's a funny scene. Wild Knuckles is distracting the guards in this bank while Gru goes and tries to break into this bank account. And when you know it, it turns out to be a success. And so this is the first time that Wild Knuckles gets like pretty excited about this. He kind of wants to take Gru under his wing, teach him. And Gru is in heaven because Wild Knuckles is his favorite villain. Everyone seems happy. They head back to Wild Knuckles' lair to celebrate. But while they were gone, the Vicious Five finally tracked him down and attacked Wild Knuckles' lair. Now, no one was there. No one got hurt, but Wild Knuckles' lair is destroyed. And Wild Knuckles is pretty upset about this. Hey, look, if your house got destroyed, I think you'd be upset too. So he is just pretty sad about this. Gru tries to cheer him up. He says, hey, look, let's make a new team. We'll be I forget what it was, like the Terrible Two, I think it was what it was. And Wild Knuckles is just kind of tired at this point. Like his original group that he started betrayed him, and then they destroyed his house. So he just is a little upset. So he tells Gru, just go home. So look, Gru is free. He's no longer kidnapped by Wild Knuckles, but he's not very happy because he liked his time with Wild Knuckles. But he listens to him. He goes back. And wouldn't you know it, while he's leaving, there is a Lunar New Year's festival that's happening in Chinatown. And he looks over and he sees Otto riding one of those dragon costume things with the Zodiac stone around his neck. So Gru gets over. He goes, hey, Otto. And Otto looks over. And he sees Gru and they reunite and everyone's happy. Except this is also when the Vicious Five come and attack. They secure the Zodiac Stone and they then use its power. And this power is apparently they can channel the spirits of the Zodiac because the main one, Bell Bottom, she takes the stone and like raises up to the air and 5 green Zodiac spirits fly out and then fly into the Vicious Five, and they all transform into like Zodiac animal hybrids, like really powerful Island of Dr. Moreau type things. Again, very random. So if I remember right, Bell Bottom became a dragon. Hold on, let me look. So if I remember right, Bell Bottom became a dragon. Nunchuck became a snake. Svengeance, I think, became a tiger. Jean-Claude became a bull. It was definitely a bull, dragon, monkey, snake, and tiger. I think that's what they were. But overall, they became these like powerful hybrid creatures. And then, wouldn't you know it, the Kung Fu minions show up and they go, Gru, we're going to defend you. And Bell Bottom, who's kind of the leader of the Vicious Five and also has the main power of the Zodiac Stone, says, hey, let's make this a fair fight. You become hybrids too. So she shoots out some green Zodiac spirits and turns the minions into a rabbit, a chicken, and a goat. So not the most powerful animals. They look a little silly and they start running because they are outmatched by these super hybrids. So the fight happens. It doesn't really go great for the minions, but when one of them is really, really worried and about to kind of get attacked, he hears a voice of the Kung Fu master who says, dig down and find your inner beast. And this was a lesson that she tried to teach them earlier, and he finally gets it. And he starts yelling, and fire like shows on the screen behind him because he's finally finding his inner power, and he starts fighting back. And I guess he's able to hold his own somehow. Great, sure, why not? Like, it has this weird kind of like Rabbids aspect to it because like when he starts yelling, it sounds kind of like what happens with the Rabbids when they kind of just yell. So, and one of them was a rabbit, so it kind of fits. Maybe it was an Easter egg, I don't know. But so now the minion hybrids find their inner power and start fighting back and holding their own. But during the fight, Wild Knuckles also shows up and he tries to help out, but he's a little unmatched for these super hybrid villains. And they start to attack him. And during the fight, he gets hurt. And the Vicious Five are about to, hurt Wild Knuckles more. And Gru yells out, "No, stop." And all the Vicious Five turn to him and try to attack Gru. But before they're able to, the three minions come and they yell. And this is another power that the Kung Fu Master conveniently taught to them. When they yell, they were like able to project force, I guess, and push things back. And so the three of them yelling in a very rabid style pushes back the Vicious Five and causes the Zodiac Stone to fall off of Bell Bottom / Bell Bottom Dragon's neck. And so when this happens, Gru grabs the Zodiac Stone and somehow knows exactly how it works and is able to use it. And so he sucks up their current Zodiac spirits and then turns them into rats. They all become rat Zodiac characters, and they're not super powerful. They're pretty small and easy to capture. Everything works out, I guess. Gru for some reason gives the Zodiac Stone to the anti-villain league, who shows up to like arrest everyone. I don't know. It doesn't really seem very much like a Despicable Me Gru would. I feel like Gru would hold on to the Zodiac Stone for his future endeavors. For some reason, he gives it back. Again, weird. But the minions mostly get turned back to normal. The chicken minion has a few residual effects, including like a chicken clucker and like a chicken mohawk, essentially. And he also birthed an egg with a baby chicken minion. So that was pretty cute. Again, very random. But Wild Knuckles is not doing so great. He gets taken to a hospital because he still suffered some pretty bad injuries from the fight and gets taken away. Like, is he going to survive? And unfortunately, the next scene is at his funeral, and it's a pretty cute scene. There's like a minion gospel choir singing during this. Gru gives a speech. It's a very nice speech about Wild Knuckles and like everything he did. And during the speech, Gru looks up and he sees someone watching, and wouldn't you know it, it's Wild Knuckles. So he gets pretty excited, but Wild Knuckles tells him, "Shh, be quiet." And so Gru continues his speech about how sad he is that Wild Knuckles is gone. But then after the funeral, he gets into his car, and wouldn't you know it, Wild Knuckles is right there. They hug. Wild Knuckles says, like, "I'm going to teach you everything I know." And they drive off with the minions. Everything's happy. And that's the credits. That's the movie. And there is a stinger very early in the credits. You go back to the lair of the Vicious Five / Vicious Six, which was this store called Evil Records. And the owner of Evil Records was Dr. Nefario, who is part of the later Despicable Me movies. You get to see like where they met. So Gru met him earlier. He kind of took a liking to Gru. So now apparently, now that Gru is finally ready to kind of become that supervillain he wants, he turns back to Evil Records and he goes to Dr. Nefario and he says, "I need a scientist. Like, do you want to work with me?" And Dr. Nefario's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of done with that life." And then all of a sudden, all the minions get these really big puppy dog eyes and look sad. I guess that convinces Dr. Nefario to be like, "Okay, I guess I'm in." And so then he shows Gru his newest invention, which is the large, strangely shaped spaceship that Gru uses in Despicable Me. So they fly off in that, start of a great evil villainous origin story that leads to the start of a great villainous career for Gru and Dr. Nefario and the minions. And there you go. There are some more fun animated scenes during the credits, but nothing major. They're fun to watch, and there's no stinger at the very end. So you can watch the first few of those animated scenes and then head out after that. So that is Minions Rise of Gru. Like I said, I ultimately thought it was a rental. I didn't love it as much as I thought I would. Like, I really, really like Despicable Me. I like the first Minions movie. I was really excited about this one, and it just didn't really kind of hit my expectations, but it's enjoyable enough, and my kids really liked it. So that my ultimate recommendation is a rental. It comes to theaters on July 1st, 2020. So you can check it out then if you want to. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.